chat. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having us on here. It looks to be like a fantastic session.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, Geoff.
Great. Let's get started. At the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw the global cloud collaboration market experience this tremendous growth, and in turn, the demand for IT professionals with collaboration skills skyrocketing. Geoff, can you walk us through what happened and why that is?
Yeah, and if you remember back, I think it's closing in on 3 years now. If you recall how the COVID shutdowns unfolded in early March 2020. Yes, 2020. There was a rather shocking change that happened overnight. In fact, I was driving back from San Diego when I got the text message from my boss that, hey, don't bother going into the office. We're shut down until this gets under control. Instantaneously, overnight, the shift of, or the amount of volume of meetings that had to happen, how people had to figure out how to work from home, how to be able to be as effective of that led to an exponential increase, pardon me, in the uptake of messaging, communications, and conferencing overnight. You saw the rise, a significant rise of demand and volume there. That has led to some significant changes and alterations in the business as time goes on. This hybrid work environment, which was bantered around before that, has become very solidified. It has become part of our DNA. It becomes part of how everybody is working today. You are probably spending more time working out of the office than in the office these days, and cloud-based collaboration tools have definitely been a huge driver of that.
Thanks for that overview, Geoff. And we all feel that. I mean, look at us, all three of us working from home, producing this chat. So with specific regard to collaboration operations, why has the transition to the cloud been such a challenge for organizations, Geoff?
Yeah, so there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, if you remember back to the rise of IP telephony replacing your standard old school circuit-based PSTN-based telephony, that happened. That transition began in the early 2000s and accelerated. So pretty much now most businesses have IP telephony on premise, and they've built out that environment. That requires some certain networking design, requires some resiliency, requires performance to do that. So there's a significant investment that companies have made in that physical plant, and they're hesitant to walk away from that. So back in the day, though, you would have that demarcation point at the edge of your enterprise where you went out to the public telephone system, and now that's being not usurped, but it's being overtaken by connections to cloud-based solutions. And there's a variety of telephony solutions out there, as well as full collaboration solutions like our WebEx product portfolio. But a lot of these companies still have a pretty significant on-premise installation base. So as time goes on, you will see those circuits that used to come in from PSTN sources, some the old school legacy connections, will be replaced more and more by telephony and solutions that merge the cloud with the on-premise, and that hybrid solution will continue to grow and shift more towards cloud-based communications. At some time in the future, maybe companies will begin to deprecate and move away from their on-premise plant, but that's going to take some time. Those transitions do not happen instantaneously. They don't happen overnight. And in the meantime, there's going to be an increasing need for engineers, technicians, people who are able to handle that transition, to be able to make those changes as that paradigm shift rolls into an organization.
Right. So back to that, those major transitions. Let's think about the organizations that refuse to do that. What would be like a worst case scenario for an organization that doesn't want to make the change from the on-premises? Scott, I know you've seen a lot of this. Would you like to weigh in on this one?
Sure. Geoff actually touched on it pretty good with the pandemic. The pandemic was something that took us from where we're used to being in the workplace to everybody scattered, and communication was disrupted in the workplace, and you had to have a way to communicate with each other from different locations, and that was pretty worst case scenario for us. And we were all scrambling to try to, how do we keep these businesses in touch with each other? How can we keep their day-to-day operations going with everybody, spread all over the place?
Sure. Yeah. And so that hybrid workplace that we've coined, that environment, what does that look like? Do you have is there something we can look at?
Sure. I believe that you have a diagram there that we can share and
Okay.
and show. You going to share that one?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So if is it being shown yet? Okay, great. So on the left-hand side, it would be your basic or traditional, on-premise or customer environment, where everything is centralized, is in one centralized location. And in the middle of the diagram that you're seeing would be the demarcation point that Geoff was talking about. That is the firewalls that kind of limit our communication to the outside world. On the right-hand side is showing the cloud environments like Azure, Microsoft, our WebEx, the PSTN, or more PSTN traditionally, but these days it's more like ITSPs, connections to other type of service providers, IP telephony service providers, what have you not. And in the cloud side, you would have your customer endpoints, their end devices that could connect back. Back on the customer premise side, that was where all the real magic happens. And a traditional IP telephony engineer, collaboration engineer, will be responsible for the stuff that you see on the on-prem side, like the Cisco Unified Communications Manager. That's the central call control appliance that we have. And in other ancillary appliances that we have, like Unity Connection, Video Mesh, and Active Directory Exchange for the centralized user database that or not database, but user grouping that is used to authenticate to use the services that the collaboration suite offers. The good thing about the cloud stuff, though, is that, with WebEx, you can actually, if you want to keep control of your users and your user base, you can actually have those replicated over to the cloud. So you can have WebEx calling, or handle all of your IP telephony communications, or you can keep your centralized calling on-prem, or you can have a combination of both. That's the beauty of cloud. So if the worst case scenario happens again, your communications are not disrupted.
There's a lot to see here, and I'm thinking about the changes that we've seen as far as the skill sets required by collaboration engineers. So looking at this hybrid workplace in front of us, where do the skills fit, and what are those skills specifically that prepare an up and coming engineer to be qualified to work on something like this?
Well, the great thing about our collaboration certifications is it gives you all the tools that you're going to need. So someone that is preparing for our collaboration certifications will be more than able to move over to the hybrid workplace. They still need to know how to do the configuration, maintenance of the on-premises solution, and then they know how to do the integration between on-prem and cloud. So our collaboration certifications definitely prepare them for that. And our certifications are constantly evolving. Our exams are now going to be updated at least once yearly. So we're trying to stay ahead. We're trying to stay ahead of the game and get these candidates prepared to not only be an on-prem expert, but also be able to migrate with the cloud and keep the businesses rolling.
I think this is a good time to take a look at the certification exam structure within the collaboration track. So let's get that in front of us. And I really want to take a look at what has changed and how does one go about getting certified, and with specific regard to the past and how the track has changed. I would really love to hear your perspective. I know you've had your hands on this for some time.
Yeah, for quite a while. It has evolved a lot. It used to be you had to have, especially for collaboration, or when it went from voice to collaboration, there were 6 exams that you had to take in order to be certified in it. Not one exam got you anything, but other than the knowledge, of course, to be able to move over to the next thing. But everything was required in the track. We've now evolved to where you only have to take one core exam, and in collaboration, that's called our CL core, our core exam, and that's the baseline for collaboration. Then we offer a list of offerings that are more focused towards areas in collaboration. For example, our CLA CCM course and exam, that focuses on advanced call control. And our CLCEI, that focuses more on edge, moving towards the cloud. Our CLICA, it focuses more on applications, those ancillary appliances I was mentioning before, like Unity Connection or Contact Center Express or things like that. So you take the core exam, that's required, and then one of the other specialized exams, and you're a CCNP collaboration. You get that just from 2 exams. The beauty of the CL Core exam, though, is it is also the prerequisite or requirement for the CCIE exam. There's no longer any other CCIE written exam. Our CL Core exam will qualify you to take CCIE. So you don't have to be a CCNP in order to be a CCIE. So if you're good in the field, you work in it, and you want to go ahead and say, I want to be a CCIE, take CL Core, and then schedule your lab exam, and good luck.
Outstanding. And the other thing I'd like to point out, with the change, you have your choice of a menu of options for your concentration that you take to get your CCNP collaboration. And as time goes on, we'll be continuing to add and shift and move things around. So as this transition happens, as more and more of it moves to cloud-based communications, you'll have the ability to expand upon your skill set by taking specific courses and specific exams if you want the formal recognition for it. And each time you take an exam, you get a specialization certification that goes with it. So you get something to show, so a badge to put on your LinkedIn profile. You get some bragging rights to do. But again, it's really a huge benefit, something that's changed and something that has resonated very well with the community out there.
Thanks, Geoff. I was thinking we could take a look at another slide I have here, and it's covering the specialist certifications that you can earn by passing any of these exams, say for the lab at the expert level. So I'm thinking about those who have had a collaboration certification, or have another certification, and they're looking to grow into these technologies. I think it's important to recognize some of the newer technologies that are there. And, if you can provide some insight as to what are some of the ways that we can leverage recertification looking at this.
So who do we want to pick up that one, Scott?
Well, it's a good question. I'm thinking. So, Scott, when you think of these specialist certifications or the concentration exams that are tied to them, which technologies do you think are the hot up and coming ones? Let's say I have a traditional networking background and I'm interested in building my skills in collaboration.
Well, the hot up and coming ones would be like the CL Core, of course, because that's a requirement, and CLCEI, because that'll get you trained on the edge devices, the devices that allow you to integrate with the cloud. And of course, if the goal is to get to be a cloud type collaboration engineer, that's a good connection point. It allows you to be able to get that on-prem side connected to the cloud. So connected to WebEx, using WebEx calling, WebEx Teams, or any other type of cloud offering that you would like. So I think CLCEI would be a good one. The CLACCM, I'm a call routing guy, so I think that's always a good one to have too, because you might want to go different places, point A to point B, and understanding how call routing works, the path of least resistance is a good path.
Yeah, I always try to put myself in the shoes of somebody looking to upskill, and how you can use that as a opportunity to recertify. So you're taking the training to learn the skills. You earn continuing education credits once you complete it, and then you can take the exam and you recertify again. And I mean, the cycle just keeps on going. But that's what's exciting about releasing new exams and new structures. And it's a pleasure to hear the other side of it as well, since you two are the ones creating all of this.
Yeah, so the one thing to keep in mind is we've been doing certifications since the 1990s, and there's been a lot of change. It has evolved significantly. We've added things, we've removed things. Things have risen in priority. Things have been deprecated in priority. We do try to keep, at the high level, taking a look at what's required by the industry, required by employers, required by people to be successful in their career. We take a look at what's going on. I see that there was a question that came in asking about, if we have any plans to have a CCNA or CCNP WebEx. It's like, well, right now we're looking at we're constantly looking at where the trends are going and where we want to get to. We need to make sure that we're responsive and reactive to what's going on. We also don't want to do it without measured reasoned thinking and validation behind it. So we want to make sure that when we have something ready, it is at the right time and there is demand for people with those skills. So it's something that we're definitely looking at.
Yeah, and we're also seeing questions about the skills it takes to go to a CCNA or CCNP collaboration, and you really need to have baseline networking skills. So something like our CCENT entry-level network that understands basic routing, switching, things like DHCP, and just basic networking skills. And if you have that, we also offer another class. It's not part of the certification, but it's called CLFNDU. That's our collaborations fundamentals. So if you're an entry-level network person and want to get into collaboration, CLFNDU is a good course to take because it kind of gets you into collaboration, lets you see what's involved and what's required. So we do offer paths from somebody with just a basic route switch background that wants to get in collaboration. We do offer paths to kind of move over into collaboration.
Yeah, and as Scott mentioned earlier, we did make the change, the new version of our certifications. We no longer require a CCNA. You no longer have to have that piece of paper before you can pursue your CCNP. You've never needed it for a CCNA. You could, if you're ready for that. I worship you, but with the removal of the requirement for the CCNA, that didn't remove the knowledge that's required from that. So you really do need, as Scott was mentioning earlier, you really do need that foundational layer 2, layer 3. For collaboration as well, you also need to have some understanding of what QoS, quality of service, and making sure that you get the performance that's required so that people have a good experience calling. If I remember from the Cisco in the early 2000s when we were making that transition to IP telephony, it's like there was a lot of learning, a lot of eating our own dog food as we got to where it became as clear, crystal clear, and reliable as the PSTN. And again, that's just something that you will have to have in your bag of tricks. Not that that's terribly difficult to obtain, but we no longer force it. You just need to know that to be successful.
Right.
There's a question here I wanted to bring on the air. So this is coming in from LinkedIn, and the person writes, regarding the collab certification track, what would be the requirements? Would this knowledge be translatable to other cloud computing services? And they continue, they say, I have completed IT Essentials as well as CCNA 1 and 2 and would love to gain this knowledge as well.
Yeah, I think it would. The requirements that he's already completed will translate over great into CCNA collaboration. As Geoff and I were just mentioning before, this individual most likely has the foundations. They have the foundations needed to go into collaboration. And if they wanted to, just dip their feet in to see, that CLFNDU I was mentioning would be a good start. But if they feel comfortable, CL Core, they could just go ahead and start taking that to start the CCNP journey. As far as, going into other cloud technologies, we are doing WebEx training in the CCNP collaboration. Now, our training and certifications are evolving. So we're coming with or doing training now with how to do the integration between on-prem and WebEx. And it kind of will go into the same, other cloud services because, cloud is cloud. And, some things are, well, no, cloud's not cloud. There are different flavors. You got Azure, you got WebEx. And so, but the base knowledge, you'll be able to gain that from this to be able to translate to any other cloud services.
Thanks, Scott. And so we have another one here, and it's a little bit of a broad question, but I think we can provide some good direction. So the person asks, what skills and or certifications will help me evolve my career?
Wow, that is a very broad question. And the reality is, if we go back 10, 15, 20 years and how people's careers were, just like you started off here and you kind of always moved up and to the left. So you had a progression. It was natural. It was easy to understand. You could prepare for it. But that has changed largely. People are moving around. You need to know what you need to know when you need to know it. You don't want to know it too soon. So there is a lot less linear progression that goes on to it. If I had to give you just a dime, a 10-second overview of that, my recommendation would be, learn some basic networking, understand the foundation, get your hands on some gear, and practice. There's all kinds of ways to do it simulation-wise, but if you're chasing a CCNA for $250 or $300, you can buy used switches and routers to do all the labs yourself. And there is something tactile about plugging things in and figuring them out, and not being led down the rosy path with a guided tutorial. So again, those are just some things that you can do to get yourself in the right frame of mind. But on the other side of it is take a look at where you're at and where you want to go and what you are missing to get there. And it's really hard to do this from a very simple question. But the reality is that today, if I go back to when I was in college in the 1980s, I'm that old, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have Google, there was none of the resources that you have today. There's so much more available out there, so much that's available for free. There's so much that, it's almost too much information, but you can certainly find it. There are a lot of great influencers on the web. On Twitter, there's some fantastic people who do study groups and sessions to help you prepare for your certification. So if you go hunting around looking for Cisco Collab certifications, you're going to find some people out there that can help you. We have our training programs that are available for you as well. But again, there's so much helpful information out there, so many helpful people that you should be able to find people to help you get ready for that next step in your career. And that really is something that gives you a lot of freedom.
Yeah, that's true. And a point that Geoff made is as far as the training and getting your hands on, I'm the type of person I can learn by reading and watching, but until I actually do it, it doesn't really sink in. But our training offerings we have, if you don't have the space or the budget to go buy a router or a switch or something, we do have in our certification training, not collab, but our enterprise networking stuff, you can take classes, and we have labs that will allow you to get your hands on. There's some virtual labs, and some you are using real hardware. So we do offer that type of training to get you started in to get your skills from point A to point Z. We have it all.
And one last thing to keep in mind, so we do have a variety, as Scott was mentioning, a very well built and well provisioned certification training. Really, the journey is going to be yours. Everybody's going to have a different journey. People learn in different ways, so don't feel locked into, if you're not getting it one way, look elsewhere. There's, Cisco Press has books around certifications. There's a whole slew of options out there. So don't give up, don't get discouraged. There are people out there that can help, that want to help, that are anxious to help you. So please do some searching.
I think this is a good time to mention the Cisco Learning Network and the wealth of information that you can find there. The community is incredibly supportive. You have people who have been there, done that. They will walk you through problems that you have. No matter how technical it gets, there's someone there who can help you. Okay, let's take another question here. So so this person's asking, how does this differ? I assume collaboration. How does this differ or apply to solution architecting from a design perspective versus an implementation expertise perspective? Is there a separation between design and implementation expertise and collaboration?
Well, I think I understand the question. And, what we do is more on the implementation side. We don't really do much of the architectural side of it. It's, once it is designed, how do you implement it? So as far I don't believe that we offer anything on architecture for collaboration. I know our group, Geoff and I, we do this is how best practices, a collaboration environment can be designed. Now, there are more than one way to skin a cat. So that's where the architecture comes in. If you want this, I don't know if that's a good answer for the person, but, what we do is more implementation.
Yeah, the one thing that I'll add to that is, a lot of the people that are doing the very deep design and specifying what the network needs to do and work with, as a collaboration engineer, you're going to be very closely working with them just to ensure that there is the correct level of performance, the correct configuration. You want to make sure that people have as good of an experience as possible. So you will probably be working closely with the architects, the solution architects who are essentially building out your current or your next generation network. And your job as a collaboration engineer, you have the experience in implementation. You understand what's required for it to be a successful deployment. So you need to make sure that the people who are doing that design are aware of what's required and needed. And that's where, again, having the certifications, having the training, having the background means that you can speak authoritatively during those discussions.
Yeah, that's a great point. So I'm looking at the next question here, and this person is asking if there is a concentrated WebEx course for Teams, meetings, calling that includes learning WebEx Control Hub skills in Cisco Digital Learning. Scott, I have a feeling that you're ready to pounce on this one.
Yes. Yeah, the answer is yes. It's not really a concentrated course. It's not an individual course, but we're upcoming with everything that this person just mentioned, the Control Hub, meetings, calling. We are covering that in the CCNP collaboration. There's going to be, depending on what the topic is, going to be what the course it is. But to answer that question, yes, and it will be in digital e-learning.
Fantastic. All right, let's wrap it up. I don't think we have very much time. So if anyone has any further questions, if you're watching online, you can still submit them in the comments and we will follow up with you after this chat is over, but we're almost out of time. So let's wrap it up. First off, I really want to thank both of my guests, Scott and Geoff. You did an incredible job today, and it was such a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
And to everyone watching online, if you want to learn more about Cisco collaboration training and certifications, we've made it very easy for you to get started. You're going to scan the QR code on the screen, and then we'll send you everything you need to know to get started, from how to prepare and what to learn, to free study tools, practice quizzes, and so much more. And one thing that you really need to know about is that we are announcing a major change to the certification. And this is a blueprint change. It's brand new. And if you sign up, you'll get all of the details. And just to close us out, you can view the comments using the Cisco chat hashtag, or you can connect with us on social media using the hashtag #CiscoCert. And we're more than happy to provide information on what we have discussed in today's chat. Make sure you scan that code. You'll get all of the information you need to get started. And thank you for tuning in today. We'll see you next time.